You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Dean Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's Ravenswood After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Ravenswood After Show.
Not a secret, can you keep it sweaty?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Ravenswood After Show. We are in Season 1, Episode 3. I am your host, Kelly, and this is Believe. And I believe I have some fabulous co-hosts with me today.
Hi, I'm back with you, Stephanie Wenger.
And we have a new person added to the group.
Hello, I'm Sarah.
Hi guys, Emma Kate.
So, Believe.
Who do we believe?
Okay, I want to start off by talking about each of you, what do you think about kind of like supernatural, spiritual, kind of ghostly encounters?
I believe.
Yep.
I swear I've seen ghosts before, but people think I'm crazy. So I don't know if I should admit that.
See, I want to believe.
Yeah.
I think like it's possible, and I haven't personally experienced it, but why not? It could happen, and if you have experienced it, sure.
Okay, what about you?
I'm a victim of trying the Ouija board in science class in high school.
Really? did you make your own with colored letters too?
No, we had plain paper.
Oh, you made it out of paper.
Yes.
Ah, so
We
a lot of
wrote
makeshift
all
Ouija
around
boards.
it.
All right.
Yes.
Oh, crazy.
I never made my own Ouija board. I played with the real one
Me
once.
too.
Creepy.
Really creepy, right?
Yeah, but you never can tell. It's kind of like the 2 fingers light as a feather, stiff as a board thing.
Yeah.
You know, you don't really know.
You're always doubting if the other person
Yeah.
was really moving you. You're asking
Yeah.
another.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have an aunt that's obsessed with ghost hunting. So I kind of I watch all this ghost story shows and she travels and goes and
Oh,
does
cool.
it. It's crazy.
Wow.
It's creepy. It's
So
scary.
are you a believer then?
I am totally a believer. I stayed at one of the most haunted hotels in New Orleans once, and I couldn't sleep a
Oh my
wink the whole
gosh.
time I was
I
there.
would have
Wow.
cried.
It was crazy. So we had a lot of ghostly encounters going on in Ravenswood. That's kind of their whole thing. It's a very creepy town. It's a cursed town, and we get a little bit more into that in this episode, which is cool. I mean, I like kind of digging down deep into it and seeing kind of what's going on in the history of this crazy town. So we start out that, unfortunately we lost Miranda in the car crash in the last episode. And, this is her funeral. And, I was reading on Twitter, and a lot of people were saying that, it's interesting that she gets to come back and kind of see her funeral. Because Caleb sees her, and he doesn't really, know if he's dreaming and all that. And he's kind of dealing with the fact that he can see and talk to her, and she's kind of hanging around, and they go to her funeral together. And it's her reaction to it is interesting because she doesn't seem to be all that weirded out that she's a ghost hanging out. She's just kind of it's a normal thing.
She doesn't like her dress. That's
Yeah.
the
I
I
mean, it's very teenager reaction that's not really dealing with reality. What's really going on. It's, she doesn't like what her uncle said. Doesn't believe anything that he said. Nobody's there. She's like, great turnout, and and then more people from the town come and pay their respects, so to speak, to this person that they didn't really know.
Which is kind of weird. Do you really go to someone's funeral you don't even know? Or is it maybe a town thing where they just feel like it's Ravenswood, it's such a small town, that they're going to show respect to her or to Collins?
That's what I thought, to Collins. That's why they were showing up, that he's been a part of that town for so long, and that he was, her uncle, and that you would show respect in that way. I was kind of surprised that they didn't have one of the other 4 characters in the 5 that were part of that accident not show up to the funeral. I thought that would have been an interesting twist, and why that was the case. Yeah.
Did you guys think it was weird that Caleb was answering back to her and no one was?
No one noticed.
Yeah.
Well, I thought about that, and I was looking around, and it seemed like every time he was talking to her, no one else was around that I could tell.
Yeah. Well,
Or-
he was kind of in a group of people, but I guess they couldn't see his face. So
I don't
maybe.
know, yeah. Well, they're like, who's this new guy? We're not even
Yeah.
pay attention to him. So he just talks to
Well,
himself. That's
yeah,
what
he's
he
crazy.
does.
The thing is that they're used to seeing ghosts around town from, you know, the theories and the predictions that we made earlier. So I think it might be normal to hear people talking when there isn't anyone present
yeah.
because they see it all the time. You know, we see Olivia who sees a ghost, yet her brother doesn't see it.
Yeah, we talked about this pattern that they referred to on the show, and that this is like a generational thing. So maybe this is like a norm in this town that we just like outside the town couldn't understand.
Maybe, and it's just kind of one of those unspoken things that you're just like, oh, it's not a big deal, but you don't really talk about it.
It's like Voldemort. Don't
Yeah.
talk about it.
Well, you brought up a good point when we were talking earlier about the clipping of the hair.
Yeah. What was that?
I don't know.
I could be wrong, and I'm so sorry
Oh,
to
no,
cut you
go
off,
ahead.
but I think Collins put the hair under the grate, under the you know, at the
Oh,
at the
really?
casket. He stuck something underneath, and I don't know
Well, I
what
thought
it
he was
is.
pulling dirt out to put on
Yeah.
top. Like he grabbed a handful of dirt to put on top of the casket. You saw him put something there
I think he
first?
was tucking something in, and then he pulled the dirt to put it on the casket.
Interesting. Maybe that's a weird tradition we don't know about.
Well, I mean, he obviously knows a lot more about this whole supernatural thing than,
Yeah.
I mean, he has to know all of these dark things are living in his house. I mean, there's no way he can be that creepy and not notice it.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Grunwald too. I mean, we kind of see when Miranda's walking around the house that she kind of stops and acknowledges that there's something else there.
Yeah.
So there's definitely more to their story, which I definitely can't wait till we get in.
Well,
more
I feel
deeper
like
in
that's
that.
one of those stories that started on Pretty Little Liars and we're super invested in at this point because the house mother was there and now she's on the show. And I'm just curious about why she's, you know, in Ravenswood, why she chose to leave the sorority that she was a part of. There's so many questions just
Yeah.
around her.
Which
Well,
is gonna
she
be
said-
interesting.
Yeah, and she said she is, what did she say? She likes to keep the order and help when it's needed.
And she does tell the girls in Pretty Little Liars that she can predict or she could sense and know, and which is how she was able to tell whether Allie wanted them around or whether Allie wanted them to know where she was. So she does reveal that she has strong sense to what we don't know. But I
But if
guess
Allie's
it's revealed.
if we go back and from the Halloween episode and kind of the crossover that we had there, if Allie's supposed to be alive for real, then what is her ability to sense? Sense what? It means that she actually like
Feelings.
knew, that she saw Allie, that she knew. Because like to me, it's like if you sense something, you're sensing a spirit. So her sensing Miranda and sensing all these other people, like that's a sensing thing. But when somebody's like really around and alive, like how do you sense them? You either see them or you don't. They either come to you, especially because they had a relationship before. So that is like weird. Like I wonder how much of what she says you can actually believe.
Probably, or you know,
know?
maybe she has premonitions or something that she's
Yeah.
able to see. We just don't know yet.
I don't know.
Show's so creepy, I have to say. Just like over the top creepy. But, you know, it's interesting to see where those twists and turns and the way that it's all going to come back together, I think, with Pretty Little Liars in some ways. Like, I know they're trying to make two separate shows, but there's going to be some of those crossovers. And I think that's when the show is going to really pick up and be really an interesting.
Yeah, I can't wait for Hannah to make her appearance on Ravenswood.
Yeah.
That's really gonna pick it up for me.
Yeah, and we have some news and gossip about that later on, so that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Well, our fans were a little worried that Caleb might be ditching Hannah for Miranda, but
Me
rest
too.
assured, we see that that's
Well,
not going to happen
now
anytime
it's
soon.
not possible.
Yeah.
Maybe emotionally, but not physically.
Probably.
I don't know. So back to the funeral. So everyone is there. You know, everyone that was in the crash, and they're all dealing with it in their own way. You know, we know that Remy is there with her dad, but her mom couldn't make it there. She got in the car, but just couldn't bring herself to come out to the funeral. She's talking with Luke and Olivia, who are there with their mom, and it's still such a weird sensation, and like to be around that, considering what's going on in their family, because their mother's, you know, being accused of murder with their father and all of that, and we kind of learn about this person, Abby.
And don't you think it's a little weird why they would be having a conversation. Well, the police officer would be having a conversation with their mom right outside about the case out in the open and what's going on.
Yeah, but it depends. It's like if she was antagonizing him, then, you know, kind of like the kids were with the other officer that was, you know, and he got information from him that way. It's like, you know, if she was going and initiated the conversation and it being such a small town.
But I think Luke mentioned to Clark, which is the other officer, that can you tell your senior officer to leave my mom alone? So I think he was the one that approached her.
Well, no, he didn't see. That's just what he was that's what he assumed. But it could have been her that went to him and was like, you know, why are you here? Because even when she first saw him, or one of them said, I don't think he's there to pay his respects. He's there for something else. So, you know, it could be kind of like that whole situation, like in Pretty Little Liars, when the cops were always hanging around in places they should not be, just, you know, trying to see what they can find out.
Small
and it kind
town
of
cops.
Yeah, and it's kind of like rolling over into Ravenswood. We're seeing a lot of that. But we find out about this person, Abby, that the police suspect that Luke and Olivia's dad was having an affair with.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because last week on our show we predicted that Olivia and Olivia's mother was having an affair with Remy's father, and that's why they didn't like that relationship between Remy and Luke. And so
I don't see that at all, though. That's so interesting that you would think that. I just don't see that at all.
Some of our viewers agreed with us.
I mean,
so we're not alone here.
Maybe. I don't know.
Who knows? Maybe she was thinking, you know, who's Abby, and he keeps on talking about his ex-girlfriend from high school is trying to contact him. So I don't know if the mother maybe dug deep to find out really who Abby was, if she was dead, and started, you know, becoming jealous of this relationship he was having with so-called Abby that doesn't exist, and starts venturing out into having her own affair.
I mean, maybe. Totally something that could happen.
Well, we were just mentioning with Caleb the difference between an emotional and a physical relationship, and that he could no longer have a physical relationship with Miranda, but this could be some sort of emotional relationship, even though Abby has gone.
And don't we see Olivia, when she goes into the lab to find out who Abby was, and she goes through the yearbook, and I think one thing that stood out to me again was that they had 5 pictures in that yearbook of the students that passed away. And Abby was the one that was in the middle, kind of, it was centered around her. And the laboratory was, wasn't it named after the students? And her dad was the one. So he still has some... you know, I don't know if maybe he dedicated that after Abby contacted him, or if it was before, but you still see there's some attachment to her.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was one of the first things I noticed in the episode, was that, there is some past relationship. I don't know if it ended when she died, or how, like, when that exactly was. That's my big question.
My only issue with the mom not knowing that she was dead is how small of a town that is. Everybody has to know about that fire. Everybody has to know about like all of that. So him coming back and saying, Abby's been trying to contact me, I don't think that it was an affair. It was more like, you're crazy, that's not real. And then getting into the whole dispute whether I believe that you're, you know, that this is really happening, or what's going on. Is that an excuse for something else? Do you just not want to be in this? Not so much an affair, because I just don't believe there's no way she would have known that person wasn't dead.
Well, especially because everyone seems to know this 5-pack thing, and she is obviously a part of that from what we gathered.
Yeah, and you know, the parent. I mean, everybody kind of has their suspicions about how weird this town is. So it just, I don't know. That just seems like. But I mean, I see how it could, you know, cause a rift in the relationship, because it's one person. Oh, this dead person's trying to contact me. I think I'm gonna die soon. It's like, really? Well, you know, it's kind of like the reaction that Luke has when when Remy starts bringing her theories around. You know, he's the non-believer, and is the one that he's the only one that thinks he's living in the real world. Everybody else is crazy. And it was just interesting how quickly Olivia was to believe it.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You know, once she had that vision at the funeral, and then she looks up Abby's picture and sees that's a person that she saw at her dad's gravesite. And then she just kind of, I believe it. Let's go talk about this and figure this out.
What about with the newspaper in the beginning? Caleb was trying to look into his family and why his picture was on the gravestone.
Mm-hmm.
Was that another case where there were 5 people?
Yes, and he and Miranda were part of the 5.
Yes. Okay. So scary.
The 5 is definitely a repeating number that we see over and over again. And one thing that I think is different this time is that Miranda was the only one that died. So the curse is somewhat, I think, broken or open
or
to
change,
thrown off. Now something really bad's gonna happen.
because when they found their gravestones, they saw both of them were dead, and they used to be in a relationship. So now this time around, it was only Miranda.
So you think
that
it's kind
passed
of like
away.
a Final Destination thing, where just because it doesn't happen right away doesn't mean it's not your time, like death will find you kind of a thing. And we kind of see it play out a little bit throughout the episode.
Yeah.
Everybody has a knife in their hand cutting vegetables.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, it was interesting to me that Remy is definitely in that Spencer type role. She's playing the investigator in all of this. She's jumping forward and wanting to figure out the answers. The others are interested, but not to that same degree. And we kind of remember with Pretty Little Liars that Spencer was that way. She was always kind of the one spearheading the effort.
And, you know, just to think back to what we said last week about Remy's dad having an affair with Luke's mom, I'm even thinking now that Abby is introduced into the picture and we find out that their dad was trying to get answers and to find out what this curse is on Ravenswood. Do you guys think that Luke's mom maybe went to Remy's dad for help because he knows so much and he has all the articles to try to figure out, and that's how they got close? But after their dad passed away, he realized that this curse really is, you know, bad, and we don't want anything to do with them because it could catch on to us. Kind of like a virus.
It could be because remember at the beginning in the pilot when he hears Caleb's name, he automatically perks up. So he knows something more about the whole situation that we just haven't gotten into yet to find out exactly what he knows. So that makes sense. It kind of fits. So
There's like so many different.
I know. Well, it's again with all, you know, the spider web of theories. There's so many different ways that it can go, but that's what's going to make it fun to watch.
I feel like every time we watch the show, we come up with, you know, new theories. And then if you like I've repeated. That's what I'm trying to say. Repeated. It's all right. Like watching the first and the second episode, and you do come up with new theories every time you watch. It's kind of crazy.
Definitely. Even throughout the episode, every time something happens, I'm like, oh, darn, that's not what I was expecting.
And even the connection with Pretty Little Liars that you said people were bringing up, you know, before about the caskets, that it came from the Collins place when they had the casket at Spencer's house. And just all these different things. It totally makes the crossover things. So, I mean, we're going to have to get our Pretty Little Liars people to go and look back through and see what kind of connections we can make and how this all
it definitely
started.
makes sense now. I didn't really see the connection in the pilot, but now I think going more and more into the season, I'm able to make the connections between the two. So, and it's great to have our viewers tweet us and let us know what they found in certain episodes and certain scenes that connects the two together. So it's really definitely interesting.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into the segment that you guys wanted to do about the question of the night. And what was the question last week?
So last week we had a theory that Remy's dad and Luke's mom were sleeping together or having an affair, and our viewers agreed with us. They definitely had their opinions about that. But one thing that they did disagree with us is that the townspeople are not stuck in purgatory, and instead the town is just cursed from the flood that happened. When Remy shows them where, you know, the line of the water, that how high it went up. So they don't think that they're stuck in purgatory. It's just a curse on the town. And they also tweeted us to let us know that the only way to break the curse is to relive it, which is what the Pack 5 is doing right now to try to break the curse. So they have to go through all of the scenes and everything that happened
and survive
each and every time, and Remy is going to be the key holder to guiding them along with Miranda, because she has the news articles and she knows a lot of the stories, but then Miranda has the spiritual powers to help guide them. But
Interesting.
we also have some new theories that we want opinions for this week. And the question is, what pack was made that's now cursing all of the town? And who made it, if people can answer that? How can it be undone? And, you know, we also touched upon this. Can the house mom, Miss Grunwald, see ghosts as well? Because we see her stopping in the hallway.
Yeah.
She acknowledges, but I think she's been so used to seeing ghosts around that she doesn't want to really let them know that she could see them. Is probably one of her powers, I'm guessing. And what really happened to Colin's former caretaker?
Right.
That's a big question, I feel like, in terms of there hasn't been a lot of information given around that. It's just this mysterious person and that he had someone else, but who was it? And that's a great question.
Yeah. What about the blood he was talking about? He was talking about the rust. He was like, hopefully he'll think it's just rust.
Yeah, so something obviously happened that he
Yeah.
was murdered there, or he died there in a, you know, non-natural way. If there are blood stains
Scary.
that they can think that looks like something else other than blood.
Yeah,
Since he
it's
told
just rust.
Caleb that he retired to Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice
Which,
little-
you know, we see is a little weird because the gentleman that Caleb meets outside is like, well, how did you even get a key to the house when he wouldn't even let me put my lunch inside the refrigerator?
Yeah.
So it's getting creepy. It's definitely getting there. So we need to watch out for little details to try to figure out what is really going on. And I feel like Collins is just in charge of the town in a creepy way. I don't know. I just feel like everyone
Kind of
knows that
around,
he runs the town just because he is so dark and the town is so dark itself.
Yeah. Well, one of the questions I had I was thinking that maybe Remy's mother is having premonitions in her dreams, and that's why she can't sleep, like all these nightmares. Since the curse revolves around someone coming home from the war. And then all of a sudden these 5 kids die every time. So, and she has nightmares. She can't sleep to the point where she's sleeping in the living room by herself. And she's, you know, having all these dark things. Like, I wonder if she's actually seeing these things happen, but not really understanding what it is that she sees.
You know, that's actually a great theory, but because we see Remy going through the files that her dad was looking at. And one thing that catches her eye is how her mom survived such a big disaster with very minor injuries. So it is surprising to her and raises a lot of questions. Why her? Why did she get saved? Was it to come back and, just start the whole curse all over again?
Or is she the one that's going to help to break it? Because she has a key into she sees things that we don't see.
I was going to say premonition. Like, if she can figure out what is happening before it's happening.
And if they can figure out that she's part of like an extra puzzle piece, maybe that's how it all kind of will change the course of this.
It's definitely changed because every single spirit or ghost that's crossed over has in a way become evil. I think we see that even with Abby. Miranda is trying to warn everyone not to contact her, and Miranda is the only one that is the good one.
But I don't think Abby's bad. I don't think that was Abby at all that was really communicating with them.
You think it was just spirits?
Because it was
trying
all like
to
those dark,
them?
all those dark voices. So if you want to get into like the spiritual theories that I find on my ghost hunting shows, they say, well, you know, once you cross over, then that's supposed to be what happens, and then you go into the light, and if you're able to come back and forth depending upon what you believe in that whole sense, that it's supposed to be all good. Like if that's the whole point, is when you're stuck, that's the kind of like the darkness, is that you're getting pulled in different directions, but because you didn't go where you were supposed to go for whatever the reason is. There's all these different like theories, and if you watched The Ghost Whisperer before, you guys totally know what I'm talking about. But it's like a really interesting thing, because so many people believe so many different things about the planes and all these different realities, and where your spirit ends up if you believe that it does it all. So that's what I wonder, is like if a lot of these dark spirits are people that were trapped from the flood that just never got out, that they just didn't realize that they died, and maybe that's kind of the thing. Because I mean, this woman in black, that's kind of like the chick from the ring with the black hair. That's what it reminds me of. Like, she's always around water, so obviously something happened with her at water, whether it be the flood or something else. And we saw her for a second when Olivia was crying in the bathroom, that the hand coming out of the vent.
That was creepy.
Totally creepy. And we know she's the one that caused the wreck for where Miranda was killed. So I wonder, like, what if that's the side with the bad side, and Abby might be actually the side with the good side, and Miranda's stuck in between because she doesn't know yet. So maybe that's what we'll see, is kind of her kind of dividing and finding out if there are more good spirits there or bad.
Yeah, that was kind of my question of, I know you mentioned purgatory. When they were mentioning that she, like, wasn't one and wasn't the other, is she in some sort of spiritual purgatory? That was, like, my one question that kind of came up tonight, was it, like, if she's stuck, does that make her in purgatory, or is it some other thing because it's between spiritual good and bad?
And we hear all those dark spirits, like the dark, like, ugly, like, and male sounding voices that are screaming, like, get out, get out of here. Miranda gets pulled to the picture of her mother, and I wonder if her mother is in some way going to help kind of come back through, since she's apparently just not around right now. But if just because when she got pulled back saying she wants a connection to something, and then all of a sudden she's connected back to this portrait of her mom, and then we hear all the crazy, like, dark voices trying to scare her away from that.
Maybe they are stuck in purgatory until they decide which side they cross over to, either the evil or the good. It's and we do see the spirits fighting to,
well, because if Abby was trying to contact Olivia's dad and warn him about this whole thing and kind of justify everything that he was thinking, then that doesn't necessarily make her, like, on the bad side. And especially seeing her at the funeral standing in front of his grave, and just kind of the way that she kind of looked, it didn't seem that way. Because, like, these darker spirits we haven't really seen. When we saw the one, it was really creepy and ugly. Yeah. But seeing her, she looked
more
like
Miranda.
Yeah. So I wonder if that's, like, the difference. I don't know. We're getting, like, really deep right now.
Yeah, I'm like, that's a deep question for a Tuesday night.
You guys tell us what you think about that whole situation. Is there a good and a bad side? Are all these spirits just bad and Miranda's stuck? I don't know. But go to iTunes, rate, and comment. And you can do that on YouTube as well. Let us know what you think, and let us know about your theories for our question of the night. All right, so this 5-pact. Now that everybody's on board, everybody believes, even Luke, their makeshift Ouija board killed me.
It killed me. And I think, again, I wanted Luke to, like, not be a believer for a little bit longer. It felt like he like switched over. He was like, yes, I'm behind this now.
Instant scaredy cat.
Yeah, and I was just like, okay, way to change.
He's like, we need to put this away.
Yeah, put the magnet board with the colored alphabet letters from like elementary school.
I understand why on a TV show you would want to do that, because visually it was like, yes, no. It made it all very clear what they were trying to indicate. Yeah. But yes, I agree.
Was it like a little miniature frisbee that was their kind of like go-to?
I think
like one of those small little frisbees.
No, I think it was actually, one of those tea plates that, little kids use to play house with. Yeah. That was the plastic.
Well, and they got it from like the toy chest that was Miranda's mom's stuff.
Yeah. And that's another, question I have. Why are people's stuff just laying around all over the house? I mean, she's been deceased for, how many years? Right. Over 20 years.
And the caretaker lived there with all that stuff.
Exactly. So you just have dolls and books just, stashed away.
It was a toy chest. Maybe it was something they just never opened.
Time capsule.
But even inside the house where the room that Miranda was staying in, there was still stuff from her that remained.
I don't know. Creepy.
Maybe Collins is a little more nostalgic and kind than we think.
Or lazy. Just doesn't know where to put it.
Doesn't know how to clean. He's a hoarder, you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it doesn't seem like people stick around all that long, so it's more like a hotel. Yeah. It's kind of creepy. I don't know that I'd want to stay there that long.
Oh, no. Definitely not.
No.
And I also want to get your opinion on this. Why was Remy's dad watching that video of the attack without really telling the wife that they got a video? Is he trying to break the curse somehow, some way as well?
Maybe. I mean, I think that he definitely, we talked about this earlier, he definitely knows a lot more than he's letting on.
Yeah.
And now he knows his daughter's involved. So I think that's going to kind of change his part in the game. And he's trying to play it off that he's protecting his wife, which maybe to a certain extent he is. But I think it's more for selfish reasons to kind of see, because everybody in that town knows about this 5-pack thing.
Maybe I just wanted to see it as like glass half full, but I really, really wanted him to just be protecting his wife and daughter. I didn't want to look for. I know, and I know in Pretty Little Liars, Ravenswood world, that's not the case. There's some other reason, but
for now,
for tonight,
But
that's
he's just trying to get a good story
Yeah.
to write about.
that
It would be the
help his
breaking.
professional career. Yeah.
Could be. I mean, there's a lot of. I really don't think it's just for protection. There's
No, I
definitely
think he's
something else.
he's hiding way too much.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, he has tons of secrets. He's definitely
He's
one.
scarier to me than Collins is, because we don't really get a lot of FaceTime with him. He's just kind of creeping around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
But he seems like he's, sweet and nice with his wife. They're,
Oh, yeah.
having.
But I feel like he knows more than everyone. for
But
some
I think the
reason.
difference between him and Collins is that he's actually scared of what's happening. Collins, I think, knows it all. And, he's the one that buries these people, so I'm sure they come back and talk to him.
that's true.
Well, we know
Yeah.
that there's a lot of creepy things
And-
living in his house that use that telephone and that creepy phone.
And, we do find out that the ghost can't leave the cemetery because Miranda was
Right.
trying to follow Caleb and she
Yeah.
couldn't leave. So is that the case with everyone? Are they just in his backyard hanging out?
All of his pets. It's almost like they have an attachment to their bodies, because once her body was buried, she was like, I can't get out.
Well, maybe that goes back to the cutting of the hair. Maybe
Yeah.
it's something that maybe there is a ritual or something that he does that's weird that we don't know about.
But then maybe they're just trying to make us think that he's building these curses.
But that's too easy though for him to be the one doing it because he's so
exactly.
creepy. So
Don't-
it has to be somebody. It's
Yeah.
probably like Remy's dad that does it all.
Don't you
Oh.
cut someone's hair to put a spell on them or to
Yeah,
curse them in
that's
some
like
way? So
voodoo
it's supposed to be
magic.
bad.
I think it kind of goes both ways because when I was in New Orleans, I had the trippiest time, but I went through the Voodoo Museum and they talked about all these different things and all these, the curses and the different, and the how you pay homage to people and the altars and like all these different things that you do. So it doesn't necessarily have to be bad depending upon what your intentions are.
I also know that when you cut your hair, or I guess when you dream about cutting your hair, it means someone's gonna die. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, like continuing the curse. You cut the hair so the next person now dies. I don't know.
I agree there's probably some spiritual reason or like voodoo reason why he cut the hair, but it could also be that he for some reason wanted her DNA, like hair would have DNA
that's what I
in it.
thought at the very first
But you take a
moment.
string, not the whole hair.
That's true.
Like
Maybe
took a
he
lot
doesn't know.
of hair.
Yeah.
I don't.
Just
who
a haircut,
knows?
you guys.
I was just like, I have to throw out
Maybe
the
he's gonna
scientific
put it on
reason.
a doll. Maybe he's gonna put it on a doll and try to bring her
That
back
just
alive.
makes it creepier.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Show is getting
We're
creepy.
creating our own ghost
I don't
busters.
know. I don't know. All right, what else do we have in this crazy episode? We've got poor Olivia lost her friend, realized that her brother was right the whole time, that her so-called best friend really just wanted to be homecoming queen, and kind of like
That made me sad. Like,
I know.
yeah.
it, like in the middle of all of this, supernatural things going on in this town, that felt like something that would happen in a high school experience. Like I appreciate on the show that they're trying to ground it in some ways by like bringing you back to like the homecoming and high school experiences in some
But we
capacity.
see that's now normal. Crossing over from Pretty Little Liars. Nothing.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Who I was thinking back to Pretty Little Liars when Olivia goes to the school, to the laboratory in the middle of the night by herself. Really, is the school open at that time?
How do they
apparently
do
in
that?
world it is. They do Pretty Little Liars all the time. They can go to school whenever they feel like it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Doors are open. We all know they don't lock things.
Parents don't ask where you're going, what you're doing, who you're
You
with.
just leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
But-
the world that Ravenswood and Pretty Little Liars likes to exist in. No locking. It's good.
One thing that was interesting that and I keep on for Grunwald, I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly.
Grunwald?
Grunwald, yeah.
Yes,
Is it
the
Grun or
house.
Grun?
I think it's Grunwald.
Grun, yeah.
She tells Collins that, when Collins is asking if Caleb's having a party next door, and she says with all the wrong people.
Yeah.
So what is that supposed to mean?
Well, because they're all gonna die, and she knows it. If she has that sense, all these kids are gonna be, here to stay in a little while.
Yeah.
I don't know.
She's like, this party is going to end very soon.
Or is she trying to protect Caleb by keeping him away from them? So he doesn't.
I mean, maybe. But I think that the reason why they open up that house so quickly and easily to him is because they know something more about him and his family.
Oh.
Because, I mean, I think that there's definitely people know more about him. And I think that's why that it was so easy for him to quickly give him the keys to the cottage. And
Caleb's the one who's gonna help break the curse versus what we were saying about Remy earlier.
Well, and when we see from the previews of the next episode, he meets someone that he's related to, and they kind of pass something on to him.
Yeah.
So maybe that's it's gonna be something that either makes it worse or makes it better. You never can tell with these previews.
I think he's definitely the lead of the pack. So everything has to do with revolves around him in a way.
Yeah.
Poor Caleb, always getting tangled up in this stuff.
All right, do you want to go get into some news and gossip? What do you got?
Sounds like a good plan to me.
AfterBuzz TV News.
So, we mentioned this earlier that Hannah will be coming to Ravenswood. So that's exciting. She's going to be in episode 105, which airs later in November on, I think it's November 19th, which is the last episode of this abbreviated season. So what they've decided to do is ABC Family is going to air Ravenswood up until November 19th, have a winter finale, and then it will come back January 7th with Pretty Little Liars. So that's kind of a switch in what I think they were thinking initially. But it's exciting that we'll still get more of the show. We just have a brief break, and I think it'll actually be a great pairing together. What do you guys think?
I think so. I think I'm going to like that better because then we can kind of see both places and see if we can kind of make our own connections.
I think that's definitely going to help with people tying the two together and trying to figure out what really is going on. And one's going to lead to the other.
Yeah, and we'll get more of Ashley Benson probably in Pretty Little Liars and in episode 110. So 105 and 110, she's visiting Ravenswood.
Well, and at this point, she doesn't even know Miranda died, right?
No.
She still doesn't know.
Yeah.
No. So
Caleb hasn't even called her.
Yeah, we got the text tonight, but that was kind of it.
Yeah.
And then Nicole Anderson, who of course plays Miranda, she's talking about kind of how she didn't even know she was going to die on the show. She said,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, Miranda is in this whole new world where she doesn't know how long she's going to be there or what the rules are, what she can and cannot do, or even what she's capable of. And she had an interview with E! Online, and she says, there are all these other ghosts from the past 5 innocent dying. There are definitely some good ones, and there are lots of bad ones, which plays into what we were talking about earlier on. And also, if you're a Pretty Little Liars Ravenswood fan, you might have been watching Dancing with the Stars with Brant Doherty, who has been competing all season long, and he unfortunately was eliminated this past week on Monday night. So that's sad, but he'll still be, he's been tweeting that he'll be back on Pretty Little Liars in a big way, so hopefully we'll be seeing more of him in January.
Very nice.
And we also have one more.
That's right, yes.
News and gossip. And for all the fans, Tyler Blackburn, also known as Caleb, just released his new single, Find a Way. It's available on iTunes for anyone that wants to go ahead and download it and listen to it.
I'm really excited to hear
I want to
it.
see. We have Lucy Hale and him making an album. So
she's performing on the CMA Awards.
It's tomorrow night, so it'll be exciting to see her first, musical foray.
All
right, ready? Let's do some predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
All right, we can let the new girl go first.
Okay, so we're going to see Hannah come back. We know this already. what do you think's gonna happen between her and Caleb? I'm really nervous because of this whole Miranda thing, and he's having this emotional connection with her. Do you think Hannah's gonna be upset that she hasn't been in contact with him very much lately? Or do you think she's gonna play it cool?
I think she's going to be upset, not so much about, I don't think she'll realize the emotional connection yet necessarily, but I think she'll be really upset that he didn't, like, let her into this world, that, like, this girl has died, that he's, you know, essentially being chased by spirits, but however you want to say it. Like, he's having all these run-ins because he was so upset when she lied about A, so, like, he's doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was interesting that the person we were looking for in this episode, her name was Abby. So why is it all these A's?
Yeah.
Valid point.
Creepy.
Yeah. Well, do you think Hannah will be able to see Miranda the way the other ones can now?
Maybe not yet, but if she gets tangled into this web, maybe since Miranda died and there's only 4 of them right now, she'll be like the 5th. Something could happen that way.
Also, I wonder if she has all this experience, you know, searching out A, will she be able to help investigate in some way? Like, will she become, you know, part of that spearheading effort?
I definitely have to say no. Because we always see Caleb saves the day.
It'll kind of spin around. Well, you know, she
Jen
did have
trying
her
to be
own
positive.
little ghostly encounter in the house when she
I
got
guess,
locked in that phone booth, and she saw the lights flicker and the light cut. You know, so I wonder. You know, I wonder if it was both, because remember she heard like the voices and the phone rang and it was static and like all of that.
Exactly.
So she had her own little encounter. So I wonder if that's going to come back and kind of come into play again, since she does have that set. Something was definitely trying to contact her. So maybe that's how it'll kind of cross in and out.
Interesting. I'm going to predict that the house mom is actually going to help Caleb. In a way away from Collins. I think she's going to realize that this has gone on for way too long. Whatever he's doing, he's definitely a part of the bigger picture, and she's going to try to help him some way.
Okay, I can see that. I think she's going to kind of give him little subtle clues, or like put things in the room for him to find and read and all that the ghost can kind of throw at him, like they were doing before with that book and breaking the glass and all that stuff.
On a related note, I was going to go Collins. I think we've only scratched the surface of what's wrong with him. Like, he's beyond.
Definitely. I don't know. There's definitely a lot more there. I'm excited to see kind of where this goes. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We'll see you all next week. Make sure to, again, go to YouTube, iTunes, follow the show, rate and download. Leave us your comments. And as always, you can follow us here at AFTERBUZZ TV. And you can follow me at Kellie with an IE 079.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Stephanie Wenger.
And you can follow me at Sarah GGG. That's 3 G's.
I'm the only one that has more than one name. You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at RealEmmaK, and don't forget to shop on to EmmaK'sCloset.com.
See you guys next week.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.